Hey there, you're listening to the Not So Breakfast Show with Sasha and Ish. Alright, welcome to the Not So Breakfast Show today, and this is the one about more things you should just be able to do. We are going to step back in time, refer to episode 29, one of our most popular episodes where we had stuff you should just be able to do. Essential skills, maybe some non-essential skills, but things that you just go, man, if I could do those things, that would just up my game. And we've got more. We are adding more to the list. But before we even get into this list, Sash, I'm loving your new uniform that you've decided to show up on screen with.
There will be no photos today. I have just driven home from Mount Maunganui where I had a series of meetings today. It's beautiful, 27 degrees, so I packed my togs. And when I say togs, I mean a bikini because people say, have you got a bikini body? I'm like, do you have a body? If you have a body, you have a bikini body. Doesn't matter what your body is like. Put your bikini on and go and enjoy the sun on your skin and the salt water all over your face. So that's what I did. But I was running late, so I just jumped in my car in my bikini, and I'm still in my bikini.
Okay, we won't do the photos today.
How good is it to be Ish today?
Yes, that was a good little start to the show there. So we are looking at essential, non-essential, just awesome skills. When we did the original episode 29, I had kind of taken some creative license from the movie Taken with Liam Neeson, where he does that amazing speech where he just goes, I have a certain particular set of skills I've acquired over a long career, skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. And I thought, well, what are our skills that make us a nightmare for society or just make us awesome at the office or at work or at home? And we came up with a whole list. So if you want to go back, episode 29 is where it all kicked off. Definitely get onto that episode and reflect on those skills. But we've got more. We've got more skills that you should just be able to do, haven't we, Sash?
Yeah, and I think the start of the year, which is when we're recording this, is an awesome time to think about this because we're also thinking about what are our goals for the year, what might we like to incorporate. And so I've got a couple that I've added into my list, and I'm looking forward to working away on them. I think a lot of these things are not just make you better to be around or more useful in a crisis, but they actually give you more peace within yourself, because if you find yourself in situations where you have to entertain yourself or where no one else can help you with a particular thing, great, you've got some skills you can fall back on.
Excellent. Well, we're going to kick it off a little bit light. And skill number one is you should be able to shuffle a deck of cards. I was at the airport the other day in Kuru Club, a little bit,
Bit of cheese and crackers.
A little bit of cheese and crackers. And there was a family there and they were playing cards. But then it came round to one of their turns and they just put the cards on the table and ran their hands backwards and forwards over it and tried to sweep them all up and then put it back into the deck and everything. And I was just like, so I think that's an essential skill. You should be able to shuffle a deck of cards.
100%. And maybe the biggest scam, if you want to play poker with someone, is when you sit down is pretend to not be able to shuffle. Ooh. So the person thinks you're a rookie, right? And then you pull out your card shark nature later. Feels like a good life skill to me. Really good to teach your kids. I mean, and those of you who are like not doing kids because you're doing pets, I love it. Send in the photos of or the videos of your dog shuffling a pack of cards and we will pay good money for that.
The bluffing and the poker thing's good. I've got a life rule, never play poker with a woman who has a tattoo of a dagger on her arm. So if I am ever in that situation, I can then choose, do I shuffle the cards well or do I not? Do I bluff? But anyway, I probably wouldn't play because of the tattoo.
Rules to live by, right? I got to get a fake tattoo with that on my arm.
All right, number two, read a P&L. Read a profit and loss. I think you should be able to analyze profit and loss and look at it and actually make sense of all the numbers, what they mean, how to analyze your performance against budget, against the performance last month, against the performance last year. That's a great skill to have. You can read a P&L, Sash.
Yes, I can find my way around a P&L. But I remember years ago, like years and years ago, I needed to get a personal loan from the bank to buy a car. When I say I needed to, I was choosing to get a personal loan from the bank to buy a car. This is back in the days when you could get personal loans from the bank. That's how old I am. And they said, oh, look, it shouldn't be a problem, but you just need to do a budget where you just write down what you spend every month against what you earn, and then we'll make sure that you've got enough to repay the loan. And I said, oh, no problem. I probably spend about $300 on clothes. I probably spend this much on food. I think I spend this much on books and power, and I did all of that. And I just sent it away to them, and they said, oh, no, this means you spend like thousands of dollars more than you earn. And I'm like, does it? Well, I've always got a little bit of money every week, so I must have just done my budget wrong. I literally had no idea how much I spent in each of the categories. I knew that there was always just enough left over until next payday. So I think a really good place to start with the P&L is to understand your own personal expenses and your own personal income. So just ask yourself, how much does it cost to run the business of you every year? And even just understanding that, what is the income? What are your expenses? What are the fixed expenses? What are the variable expenses? That's a really good intro. If you're not familiar with financial accounting, that's a really good intro to understand how businesses and companies look at whether they're profitable or not and how to record their profit. So a good place to start. What is the budget and the P&L for your life?
Love it, love it. All right, next one is, I think you should be able to poach an egg.
Absolutely.
This is an essential skill because sometimes you go to someone's house and they'll poach an egg and you're like, what did you do to that egg? That chicken did a lot of work to push that thing out, and you have just gone and...
You've just boiled it to death again.
It. Yeah, absolutely. But the secret to poaching an egg is fresh eggs.
Is it?
Like, that is one of the number one things. That's why when you go to cafes and you kind of go, how do they get them to stay in that shape? Now, yes, there's some technique around not having the water completely boiling and, you know, having a little bit of white vinegar in the water and all that kind of stuff. But actually, fresh eggs is the main thing, because a lot of people are poaching eggs at home with the box of eggs that's been sitting in the pantry for a week. And that's kind of where some of the issue actually starts. So fresh eggs, but there is a technique in behind it, and jump on YouTube because there's lots of lessons in how to do it really well.
And sometimes when you get that really creamy yellow yolk, it's because they're organic or free range. Them happy chickens are yellow chickens. So that's something that makes a difference too. We have our friends that we holiday with, and we see them during the year as well. And she likes her eggs hard.
Oh no.
So whenever she orders them, she says, I want them to bounce. Like if you threw them on the floor, they would bounce back up and catch them. And I can just hear Sheffy out the back just rolling his eyes. But you want to know how people like them before you make them too. Is it super runny? Is it half and half?
Yeah.
I got to the stage where what I do with Chris, because we have this routine, Sunday morning, he makes me a coffee, brings it to me in bed. I drink my coffee while he reads the paper alone without me interrupting him. That's his definition of success and brilliance and peace. Then I get up and I make the breakfast. And I got to the stage where I just wasn't getting the eggs right. He has 2 poached eggs. So I started just doing 3, because then it just increased the chances that one would be just right. It's like Goldilocks and the 3 bears, you know, not too hard, not too soft, just right. That's what poached eggs are like.
No one's doing the extra spare egg these days.
Yeah.
Okay. I think everybody should be able to design and then present a 30-minute presentation. And I know what some of you are thinking. You're going, Ish, you are just doing a plug for the 30-minute presenter program. And hell yeah, I am, because that is one of the most essential skills I honestly think you can ever learn.
It's just so true, though. I see it all the time. What I love about the 30-minute presenter program, and really it does sound like a sell now, is that you can use the same principles and do like a 5-minute talk or a 10-minute talk. And I think you should be able to speak for actually any length of time. Get up and be powerful in 5 minutes. If you've got the whole day, be awesome at the whole day as well. You've got to start somewhere. So I think you bang on. You know what I think everybody should be able to do? And it's something I'm practicing at the moment. Everyone should be able to hit a golf ball.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
It's much harder than they make it look on TV. And I don't understand why, because I can almost every time hit a tennis ball playing tennis, no problem. I don't miss the ball. I might mistime my shot, or I might hit it not in the sweet spot, but I don't miss the ball very often. In golf, I can miss the ball all the time. What I don't understand about that is in tennis, there's more variables. The ball is moving. It's coming at me faster. I've got to move to meet the ball. In golf, it's just on the ground. I know exactly where it is the whole time. And sure, it's a smaller surface hitting a smaller ball, but you wouldn't have thought the margin of error was so great. I mean, can you hit a golf ball?
Yeah, I can hit a golf ball, and I love driving a golf ball. And I know it's drive for show and putt for dough. I'm usually good off the tee, and then that's about me. But being able to hit it, there is something magical about being able to swing a club, hit the ball, and it just taken off. So I'm with you on that one.
One of the things I love, not only being able to do it, which is very rare, but can I recommend to you having a family member who's good at it? Because you get lots of lovely proud mama moments off the tee when your son or daughter steps up and just thwacks it, and it goes for a mile and straight. And you go, yeah, that's my kid.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. And they're called Tiger. So, is it in the name?
Bless us with our foresight.
Okay, this is another one I've taken from you in conversations we've had over the last little while. But you mentioned in one of the podcasts you should be able to play chess. It's just one of those games that I think if you can get your head around or how all the pieces work and just be able to have a game, it's a really enjoyable game, and it's a critical thinking game. And plus, you never know when you're going to be in a room with a Russian drug dealer and have to play chess.
We'll be right back.
If there was one skill that could double your income, advance your career, and increase your ability to influence, it is the skill of presenting. Whether it's on stage, in the boardroom, or at a job interview, the 30-Minute Presenter program will help take you to the next level. So check out our Instagram page, click the link in the bio, and get started on the 30-Minute Presenter program.
Chess master lord thing that says, you have to take 2 of my pieces and I'll let you go. The reason I think that chess is a really good skill to learn, one is it's a universal international game. You can play it online and offline. You can play it with absolutely no language exchange. So if you meet someone at an airport and you're both stuck waiting for a plane and someone just happens to have a chess set at the airport, you can play. But also what I love about it when you teach your kids how to play chess is it's a complex game and it's really good for their brains. Yeah. As an adult, if you don't know how to play chess, it's really good to learn it because it just rewires your brain for learning again. So if you think, I'm never going to use chess, maybe you're not. But by forcing yourself to learn it, you're actually making it easier to learn the very next thing you actually want to learn. And that's what I think is cool about chess.
Yeah. And if you are thinking, why would I want to do it? Watch The Queen's Gambit. And that will inspire you. that is such a cool. I loved that show.
Or go to the musical Chess and listen to One Night in Bangkok and go, yeah, yay, woohoo.
All right, next essential skill is being able to have a conversation without talking about yourself.
Okay, I'm working on it. I feel attacked, man, but it's so true. Have you tried to do it?
Yeah, it is so difficult to do. And I was actually with someone the other day and I just realized I'm not going to name this person because I'm related to them. But yeah, it's just this thing where they just all of a sudden keep redirecting the conversation back to them all the time. So you'll say something and then it's like, oh yes, I've been thinking of doing that as well, or I was doing that the other day. And the conversation ends up just being this yo-yo effect. backwards and forwards, and being able to have a conversation with someone and just get more information from the person and ask them more questions and get them talking, that is a skill.
Yeah, I think that power of recognition is super important there, to switch on your self-awareness, to recognize when you are listening only for a gap in traffic so you can share your thing. And also, I used to think that my ads, that when I sort of talked about myself, it was an affirmative rapport building way. So, you might say, oh, I'm teaching myself to play chess. And I want to empathize with that. And I go, oh, I think that's great, Ash. I used to play chess when I was a child. And I'm not meaning to bring it back to myself, but it actually has exactly the same effect. So if every time you're looking to build rapport with a person, it's in that cheesy how to win friends and influence people, that Dale Carnegie way, by going, oh, me too, same. We can be more sophisticated than that, and actually more genuine and empathetic to understand more about the other person. So if you said to me, want to learn chess as an adult, rather than bringing it back to myself, I could say, that's so cool. What prompted that? And how are you getting on? And away you go. So I don't have to steal the focus and the spotlight all the time. And if my family are listening and you want to phone in and go, yeah, well, Mum, you need to practice this. I know I do.
It would be a boring podcast if we didn't get to talk about ourselves.
We should try and do a show where we do not say the word I.
A friend of mine.
Someone who looks remarkably similar to me.
All right, next skill. Now, this one is kind of like a bit of a play on one of the skills we had in episode 29, which was have a signature dish. So something that you can cook that's banging, that's just people know you for, and if you ever had to have people over, that would be your dish. This is kind of extending it on. It's like you should be able to cook a gluten-free, dairy-free, vegetarian meal that tastes good.
Oh, I think this is great. Nowadays, you often have people that have food allergies or food intolerances. So if you can cook something that's going to cover everybody, make it vegan to go an extra step, and then you've got everybody covered.
The one meal to rule them all. I think that's a really good skill, because that way you can have everybody around. And it doesn't matter what's going on, you've got them covered.
And why is it that the answer to that question is gluten-free Wheat Bix with oat milk? Yum, yum, yum.
All right, Sash, what was one of yours? What have you got?
I think it's really useful if everybody can use PowerPoint. I think it's such a good tool for not just presentations, but also just for ordering thoughts. So rather than type out a great big Word doc, just go, I'm going to put a few ideas on each new slide and then send that through as a proposal rather than a whole lot of text. So getting really comfortable. I know Mac uses like Keynote. Yeah, so what? Shut up. Get with it. PowerPoint is really ubiquitous, and if you can use it quickly, it's a really helpful tool in lots of different contexts.
Yeah, and the good thing about PowerPoint is I think people, when they hear PowerPoint, they go, oh, that's for a presentation. But to your point, like even recording notes or thoughts, it's so much easier to build in PowerPoint than often to build in a Word document. Like when you're building in a Word document, it's pushing it down the page. At least with PowerPoint, you know what your size of your slide is, and you can put text boxes on and you don't have to format them. It's literally like a jigsaw. So if you've never played with PowerPoint, have a play. Hop on YouTube. There'll be a 7-year-old kid in America giving you a great screen record on how to do that shit. But yeah, that is an essential skill. It's so good for so many things, not just presentations. All right, another one I love is being able to change a car tire.
Preach.
Yeah, actually knowing where your spare car tire is part of that. Yeah.
Checking. Heaps of modern cars don't have a spare tyre.
Exactly. Or they've got the tiniest little space saver that's crammed in the weirdest position in your car.
And you're never going to get laid if you drive around with that on.
That's right. So, yeah, knowing how to change a car tyre, essential skill. Tip number 1, loosen your nuts before you jack up your car.
I saw this cool TikTok the other day. It was an American guy who has been in New Zealand not that long, and he had a flat tyre. And he was just riffing. He was going, this country's crazy and I love it. I've got a flat tire and It's been like 10 minutes, and I kid you not, I am not lying or exaggerating. 7 people have stopped to offer me help. And he just went on to say how unheard of that was. And he said it was almost embarrassing. He had to keep saying to people, no, look, I'm fine. I've called the AA. They're coming. The accent's gone. I can only do it for like a second, and even then, not very well. Maybe having a go-to accent is a life skill, because you want to be able to do it without sounding incredibly racist. Do you have an accent you can do?
Oh, man. I probably could do an Irish accent, but I don't know.
Go and give it a go. Potato, go.
Oh, yes, I've been thinking about that. And the other day I was walking down the street and I was thinking to myself,
I think that's really good. I can do Scottish. I can go, okay, the new.
Okay, good.
And we used to talk about Jackie Marshall, who was our sales manager, used to be the national sales manager at Les Mills. She was South African. And she used to ring me and say, how many appointments do you have for tomorrow? And that's all I got for South African. It used to be when I was younger, every accent I did would end up morphing into some kind of subcontinental Asian accent, and I used to go, "Oh, you need to pull out of this. This is not serving anyone well."
I've always loved people that can do impersonations really well, like when they can just change their voice, and then suddenly they're Tom Cruise or whoever, and you're just going, that's amazing. Like, it's so good. Like, one of my favourite things ever on Graham Norton was when the guy was on there who does all the voices for Family Guy. And Cyndi Lauper was there, and he sang her songs as Stewie from Family Guy. And it just cracked me up, because suddenly his voice is completely different, and this voice you know so well, and you can shut your eyes. Honestly, I just laughed so hard. It was brilliant.
Well, I've been listening to Rob Brydon, so you might know him from shows like Gavin and Stacey, and he hosts Would I Lie to You?
Yes.
And for a long time, he was a voice artist. That's all he did, and that paid for it was his bread and butter. He's got a beautiful audio book called Small Man in a Book. And because it's him recording it, it means he can do the various voices and things along the way. But it talks about his career and how, even though he was so good at all these impersonations, he was trying to break through. And it's a beautiful book. But some of his impersonations are just, phenomenal. I agree. That skill is great. You now try and sound like me. Go.
Hey, Ish, I'm late. I'm running late for our session today. Is that a pretty good one? Hey, Ish, I've got my bikini on because I didn't have time to change today.
You're such a bitch. I love it. That's perfect. That's exactly right.
All right, next essential skill, being able to explain what you do.
It's hard. It's much harder than it sounds, because you want to be able to explain in a way that adds value to the conversation, explains about the value that you add to others, what you do in your role. And sometimes you might just give like a boxy answer. Oh, I'm a lawyer. Oh, I'm a real estate agent. But that doesn't really encapsulate what you do either. So I think it's really worthwhile thinking about what you do and being able to describe it to others.
Yeah, and it can sometimes be a differentiator of what you do within an industry, for example. So that might give you a specialty, or it might be that you're in a generic position like a personal trainer, but you specialize in, or you help people do X, or you work with X as part of that, which just gives people more context and a little bit more understanding.
Well, I love that idea that Matt Church talked about years ago, which is that you want to fit in so that people understand the category of thing that you do. I'm a motivational speaker. So you fit into that category so people can grasp it. And then you want to stand out of that category. So you want to be unique and special within a known category that people can understand. So when people used to do this thing where they would come up with this most creative and inventive job title for themselves, I'm an Imagineer of whatever, and it just ended up being a bit of a wank because no one knew what that was. So actually give us something that we can grasp, and then tell me why you stand out of the category that you've just put yourself into.
Any other skills there, Sash, that you've been chipping away at?
I think it's really useful to learn a second language. I'm so conscious growing up in New Zealand at how monolingual we are. We learned a little bit of te reo at school, and I did some schoolgirl French. But so many other places you go to in the world, it's just normal that you would have 2 or even 3 languages. And once you've learned that second one, the others just get easier and easier. And it's hard as an adult. It's really hard as an adult. But again, even just the process of learning it is really good for our brains.
Is schoolgirl French a little bit like, this is impossible, I cannot think of this, I cannot poach my egg today?
That's exactly it. Schoolgirl French means they teach you to say things that are not going to be at all useful to you. And Eddie Izzard has got that fantastic skit that he does about going to France and asking about my monkey. Yeah. Because you do French at school and you learn about monkeys and elephants. And how is that going to help you? Please, could you direct me to the swimming pool? I mean, when was the last time you said that? I would like to go to the disco tonight.
I had a friend who used to be able to say, I'd like to take the small horse and put it in the small stable in a number of different languages, but it was always the same statement. It's pretty good.
I love that. That's great. I think the last one that's really great, and it's, I'm always about the learning, is learn to play a musical instrument.
Yes.
And if as part of that you learn to read music, again, teaching yourself something new, I think what I love about it is it just expands your mind for everything. And I just notice the older I get, the more kind of closed-minded you can become. I don't know if you notice it with your friends. I notice it with my parents. It's like you just get a bit stuck sometimes. And so I think by forcing yourself to learn something new, it just forces your brain a little bit open, and that's good for us. So reading music or practically learning a musical instrument, whatever's going to work for you, but just being brave about new stuff, I think, is important.
Yeah, it's all right to be a beginner. And like you said, it just stretches you. Good stuff. I love that. So there's some skills. Some of them are essential, some of them are non-essential. But I think if you could do all that stuff and then you combine that with the list from episode 29, man, you would be a force to be reckoned with. I reckon if anyone kidnapped your daughter...
Yeah, you could say, stand back while I read this music. Can I help you by changing your car tire?
Let me shuffle this deck of cards while I poach an egg.
In fact, I'm just going to do a 30-minute presentation on why you should let me go.
So our journaling thought for the week, or journaling question for the week, we did one last week and do it again this week. If you could only do one thing today, what would it be?
And you mean it like a prioritization question, right? Not, well, the one thing I'm going to do today is breathe or eat, or it's about like you can only do one thing on your list. What's the most important thing? Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, if your thing was Netflix, let's talk about
Please.
Netflix. So there was a couple of things on Netflix lately. Wednesday, I loved it. I thought that was such a good spin on the Addams Family. I love Thing. But the dance scene was next level. Like, I just absolutely loved it. And I just, I thought they just nailed that whole scene. She was just amazing.
Is it a series or a movie?
Yeah, no, it's a series. So
it's a series.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So it's basically Wednesday from the Addams Family, goes to a private school for people that are a little bit weird and vampires and all sorts of little skills that they've got. A little bit like Hogwarts, probably. But yes, it goes along there, and then a few murders happen and she's investigating it. So it's kind of a little bit of
Nancy Drew.
Yeah, a little bit of Nancy Drew meets the Vampire Diaries, meets the Addams Family, but the character Thing with the hand, so good. Really, really good.
I'm going to watch it.
And then the other thing was Matilda was on Netflix. I know you watched that, Sash.
Amazing. I can't get it. You know me, I'm a musical theatre queen, and I just love seeing how they kept some of the old classics, brought some new things in. Oh yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful piece of theatre brought to life in the cinema, and it's good for our soul. And
it is good for our soul. It was interesting how they didn't have this, they eliminated the son from the family though.
Yeah, gone.
Yeah, it's gone, didn't need him.
I mean, how true is that of most families?
Wow.